The final insult. Commander Ilara Chen stared through the viewport of the Earth Embassy on Nexus Prime, watching alien vessels of every conceivable design navigate the capital's crowded skylanes. After 30 years of membership in the Galactic Confederation, humanity still occupied the smallest diplomatic compound, tucked into the least prestigious corner of the ambassadorial district. Their ships still received the worst docking assignments. Their colonies still waited longest for infrastructure approvals. Chen checked her wristcom. The emergency session had stretched beyond 18 hours now. 18 hours of debate while human colonists on Hyperion were dying by the thousands. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Ambassador Marcus Rivera entered, his usually impeccable appearance disheveled, shoulders slumped in defeat. "They voted," he said simply. Chen didn't need to ask the outcome. It was written in the lines etched deep around his eyes. "Let me guess. Against intervention. 31-3 against providing medical aid," Rivera confirmed, collapsing into a chair. "Only the Arcturians, Solari, and Ketal supported us." Chen's hands balled into fists. "The Teresian plague has swept through 4 colony worlds. We've lost nearly 2 million people. The Confederation has the cure in their central database, but still they refuse to share it. High Chancellor Zeichtrall said the humans should have anticipated the outbreak and prepared accordingly," Rivera recited tonelessly. 3 representatives questioned whether diverting medical resources to such a primitive species was prudent resource allocation. Chen walked to her console and pressed a series of commands, then paused with her finger hovering over the final authorization. She looked to Rivera, who nodded almost imperceptibly. "Execute Exodus Protocol," she said, pressing down firmly. "Authorization, Chen, Alpha 7 Omega." The console flashed green. "Are you certain you wish to proceed?" the system inquired. "Confirmed," Chen replied without hesitation. Rivera watched her, eyes reflecting a complex mixture of sorrow and resolve. "We've prepared for this day for 10 years. I just always hoped we'd never see it. I've transmitted the recall order to all human ships and personnel in Confederation space," Chen said. "Priority Alpha clearance. All diplomatic staff are to return to Earth immediately. All merchant vessels are to complete current transactions and depart Confederation space within 12 hours. In the Grand Council chamber, most of the 34 representatives had already moved on to other matters, the human issue forgotten. Only Delegate Nyara of the Arcturians remained troubled, her luminescent skin pulsing with distress as she watched the empty human seats. High Chancellor Zeichtrall, a towering insectoid whose carapace gleamed under the chamber lights, clicked his mandibles in what passed for amusement among his kind. "The humans will calm themselves," he pronounced. "They always do. Their emotional outbursts are as predictable as they are irrelevant." "I fear you are mistaken, Chancellor," Nyara responded, her melodic voice carrying across the chamber. "Something feels different this time. They are primitive and few." Zeichtrall dismissed her concern with a wave of his upper limbs. "Where else can they go? They need our markets, our technology, our protection." The chamber's main doors slid open, drawing all eyes. Ambassador Rivera entered alone, walking with measured steps to the central speaking platform. The chamber fell silent as he took his position. "The United Earth government has instructed me to deliver this message," Rivera began, his voice steady and clear. "For 30 years, we have contributed to this confederation. We have followed your regulations. We have paid your tariffs. We have waited patiently for the promised partnership of equals." He paused, his gaze sweeping the assembled representatives. "Today, you have made your position abundantly clear. Humanity now understands its true place in your vision of the galaxy." His voice gained strength. "Effective immediately, Earth and all human colonies formally withdraw from the Galactic Confederation. We will protect our own." Murmurs erupted throughout the chamber. Some delegates laughed openly. Others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "You cannot survive without Confederation protection," Zeichtrall declared. "The Teresian Empire will overrun your colonies within months." Rivera smiled for the first time that day. We'll take our chances. He turned and walked out without a backward glance. 2 days later, the human embassy on Nexus Prime stood empty. All human ships had departed Confederation space. Communication channels with Earth fell silent. Trade routes were hastily reconfigured to account for the sudden absence of human goods and services. In the private chambers of High Chancellor Zeichtroll, senior advisors gathered to assess the situation. The humans have withdrawn completely, reported Security Director Kelvor. They've abandoned outposts, trading stations, even their mining operations on the frontier worlds. As I predicted, Zeichtroll said dismissively, they'll return when reality sets in. When the Teresian raiders strike their undefended colonies, they'll come crawling back to beg for our protection. Only Nyara, invited as a courtesy due to her long relationship with human diplomats, appeared troubled. Chancellor, she said carefully, what if they don't come back? What if they find another way? What other way could there be? Zeichtroll's mandibles clicked in derision. They're alone now, surrounded by powers that would consume them without our protection. That's precisely what concerns me, Nyara replied. For 30 years, we've restricted their technological development, limited their expansion, controlled their access to advanced sciences. Now they have nothing to lose. Zeichtroll chittered again. You attribute too much potential to them. They're barely beyond their first space age. Nyara rose to leave, her bioluminescence pulsing with concern. The humans have a saying I've always found intriguing. Necessity is the mother of invention. I wonder what they'll create now that survival is their necessity. She paused at the door. And I wonder if we'll appreciate the result. 4 months passed without a word from human space. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Confederation attempted to proceed as though nothing had changed. Trade routes were adjusted, diplomatic protocols revised, security patrols reassigned. The humans were officially forgotten. But privately, concerns grew. Dr. Maya Patel wiped sweat from her brow as she examined the prototype defense system. Her laboratory, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains on Earth, had once been a civilian research facility. Now it was the heart of Project Bulwark. Run the simulation again, she instructed her team. We need to be certain. The system activated, projecting a holographic display of a Teresian battlecruiser. The defense grid fired, not with conventional energy weapons, but with something entirely new. The simulated Teresian shields didn't just fail. They inverted, collapsing in on the vessel. Maya allowed herself a small smile. It works. Their defensive systems can't counter it because it uses their own shield harmonics against them. Across the solar system, Captain James Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance. From the outside, the vessel appeared to be a standard human cruiser. Inside, it contained technologies no Confederation species would recognize. Engine test complete, his executive officer reported. We've achieved 400% of Confederation standard propulsion efficiency. James nodded. Begin weapons calibration. The crew moved with quiet efficiency. 6 months of intensive training had honed them to a razor's edge. They were ready. On Earth, General Diana Cruz reviewed the latest strategic simulations in the war room of the United Earth Defense Command. Her tactics violated every principle in the Confederation military handbook. That was precisely the point. The Teresians are probing our outer colonies, her intelligence chief reported. 3 ships appeared at Hyperion yesterday. Diana nodded grimly. And they're gone. The new defense grid functioned exactly as designed. Not even debris remained to indicate what happened. In her unmarked office, Intelligence Director Sofia Mendes sorted through reports from agents still embedded throughout Confederation space. The aliens believed humans had simply retreated to their own territories. They didn't realize that human operatives remained behind, watching and learning. A message flashed on her secure terminal. TRISIN battle GURUPTTT. Course. Earth System. East IMAT Air Rigel. 48 HOURs. Sophia sent alerts to all commands. then permitted herself a cold smile. The Teresians had just made a catastrophic error in judgment. On Nexus Prime, High Chancellor Zychtrol presided over a Confederation Council meeting focused on economic matters. "The trade disruptions in the Perseus Arm require our attention," he chittered. "Without human agricultural exports, 6 worlds face food shortages." Nara spoke up. "Perhaps we should reconsider our position on human territories. The Teresians continue to encroach on their space, and our intelligence suggests they're preparing a major offensive." "The humans made their choice," Zychtrol replied coldly. "They rejected our guidance. Let them face the consequences." A junior aide rushed into the chamber, violating protocol, an unheard-of breach that immediately silenced all conversation. "Urgent news, Chancellor," the aide exclaimed. "The Teresian battle group dispatched to the human homeworld has been destroyed." The council erupted in confused voices. "Impossible," Zychtrol declared. "Our sources confirmed they sent 18 warships. The humans had nothing that could challenge such a force. Our long-range sensors recorded it," the aide insisted, voice trembling. "The human defense was overwhelming. No Teresian ships survived." Silence fell across the chamber. "Show us," Nara demanded. The main display activated. The council watched as the Teresian fleet approached the Earth system. Then strange vessels appeared, human ships, but unlike any seen before. They moved too quickly to track, employed weapons that bypassed Teresian shields entirely, and demonstrated maneuverability that defied known physics. The battle lasted less than 20 minutes. "What have they created?" someone whispered. Zychtrol's mandibles clicked rapidly in agitation. "Send a diplomatic mission immediately. We must re-establish contact." 3 days later, the mission returned. "We couldn't even enter human space," the mission leader reported. "Automated defense platforms blocked our approach. Our messages received no response." "There must be a way to contact them," Zychtrol insisted. Nyara's bioluminescence pulsed with a color that indicated wry amusement. All eyes turned to her. "For decades, we ignored their requests," she said. "We dismissed their concerns. We treated them as lesser beings." Her gaze fixed on the Chancellor. "Now you expect them to answer your call. They're not listening anymore. They're building." "Building what?" Zychtrol demanded. "A future that doesn't include us," Nara replied. "And I fear that when they're ready, we will all hear from them again, whether we wish to or not." The return. 1 year after humanity walked away, the galaxy changed. Food shortages plagued Confederation worlds. Trade routes became increasingly dangerous as piracy flourished in regions the Confederation fleet could no longer adequately patrol. The mighty Teresian Empire, emboldened by the Confederation's apparent weakness, began encroaching on member worlds' territories. Admiral Ilara Chen stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital headquarters, watching the planet below bustle with activity. Shipyards that hadn't existed a year ago now produced vessels that would make Confederation engineers weep with envy. Research facilities developed technologies that had been theoretical fantasies when humanity still labored under Confederation restrictions. "Admiral," her aide said, approaching with a data tablet. "Director Mendez is ready for you." Chen nodded and made her way to the conference room. Intelligence Director Sofia Mendez was already seated, displaying her usual calm efficiency. "The Teresians have petitioned the Confederation for assistance," Mendez reported without preamble. "They claim we're the aggressors now." Chen raised an eyebrow. "Interesting how quickly predators cry foul when their prey fights back." "The Confederation is considering their request," Mendez continued. "They're forming a joint fleet to establish a blockade around our colony on Hyperion." "Let them come," Chen replied. "It's time for the demonstration." On Nexus Prime, the Confederation Council was in chaos. Half the member species faced civil unrest at home as resources grew scarce. Factories stood idle without human raw materials. Shipping companies bankrupted as insurance costs skyrocketed due to Teresian raids. "Something must be done," shouted the Rigelian delegate, pounding a tentacle on the table. The humans have upset the balance of power. High Chancellor Zychtrol struggled to maintain order, his position weakening daily as more species questioned his leadership. Our joint operation with the Teresians will remind humans of their place, he announced. 200 ships will blockade their colony at Hyperion. They will have no choice but to negotiate. Nyara, now leading a faction of council reformists, shook her head. You still don't understand what we've created. What do you mean? Zychtrol demanded. For generations, we constrained them, she explained. We limited their growth, denied their requests, forced them to rely on us. When they walked away, we broke all our chains on them at once. The chamber grew quiet. They're not just building ships, Nyara continued. They're building a future where they don't need any of us, and I fear they're succeeding. Near Hyperion, the joint Confederation Teresian fleet took position. 200 vessels formed a blockade around the human colony. Commanders exchanged confident messages. This show of force would surely bring humans back to the Confederation table. Then a single ship appeared. It was human-made, but unlike any design they had seen before. Sleek and silver, it moved with impossible grace. Attention Confederation and Teresian vessels. A calm voice transmitted on all frequencies. This is Admiral Ilara Chen of Earth Ship Reckoning. This message is a courtesy. Please observe and report. Before anyone could respond, the human ship emitted a pulse of golden energy. It spread across the blockade like a wave. Ship after ship lost power. Weapons, engines, and shields shut down. Only life support and communications remained functional. Panic spread through the fleet, but no further attack came. After 30 minutes, systems restarted one by one. By then, the human ship had vanished. On Nexus Prime, the Council watched recordings of the demonstration in stunned silence. They had sent 200 ships. The humans had sent one. This cannot stand. Zychtrol rage. They humiliated us. They showed restraint, Nyara countered. They could have destroyed that fleet. Instead, they sent a message. For 3 days, the Council debated. Fear and anger drove many toward a dangerous decision. Despite Nyara's passionate opposition, they voted to approve a preemptive strike against Earth itself. A massive armada gathered near the border of human space, the greatest fleet in Confederation history, supplemented by Teresian warships. Nearly 500 vessels prepared to jump to the Sol system. Victory seemed assured through overwhelming numbers. Then, on every command screen on every ship, the same message appeared. We can know your intentions. We can know your capabilities. We can know your vulnerability. I eased it. Turn back. Below each message was personal information about each ship's captain, including images of their homes and families. One by one, ships began to break formation and retreat. The invasion force collapsed without firing a shot. On Earth, Chen watched the fleet disperse on her tactical display. She turned to Marcus Rivera, now Secretary of Interspecies Relations. They'll try again, she said. Fear makes people desperate. Rivera nodded. Then we need to give them an alternative to fear. 3 days later, every communication device across the Confederation activated simultaneously. On every world, in every language, Admiral Ilara Chen appeared. People of the Galactic Confederation, she began. I am Admiral Ilara Chen of United Earth. 1 year ago, your leaders abandoned humanity in our time of need. Today, they prepare to wage war against us rather than acknowledge their mistake. Her image was replaced by footage showing the real-time development of the Teresian plague cure that human scientists had created independently. We could have continued to isolate ourselves, Chen's voice continued. Instead, we offer this, the cure for the Teresian plague that has now spread to 6 of your worlds. We offer it freely, without condition or expectation of reward. The screen shifted to show human ships deploying medical supplies to affected worlds. We also offer this warning. Chen's voice hardened. The current Confederation leadership has failed you as they failed us. They restrict your development, maintain artificial scarcity, and preserve power imbalances that benefit only a few species. The display showed evidence of corruption and resource manipulation by Confederation leadership. Humanity extends an open invitation to any species wishing to establish direct diplomatic and trade relations outside Confederation restrictions. We seek partners, not subjects. Equals, not subordinates. The transmission ended abruptly. On Nexus Prime, riots erupted in the streets. 6 species immediately announced their withdrawal from the Confederation. 12 more demanded emergency leadership elections. In the council chamber, Zychtrol found himself surrounded by security forces, not his own, but those loyal to Nyara's reform coalition. The council has voted, Nyara informed him. Your leadership is terminated, effective immediately. Zychtrol's mandibles clicked in rage. You cannot do this. The humans have manipulated you. No, Nyara replied calmly. You did that yourself, over many years. The humans simply showed us the truth. 2 weeks later, a new delegation arrived at Earth's orbital headquarters. Led by Nyara, now interim chancellor, they came not with demands but with proposals. In the grand conference room, Nyara faced Admiral Chen and Secretary Rivera across a circular table, symbolically equal. We propose a new compact, Nyara began. Not a return to the Confederation as it was, but something new. A true partnership of equals. Chen studied the alien carefully. Why should we trust any compact after 30 years of broken promises? Because this time, the balance of power has shifted, Nyara acknowledged. We need you more than you need us. But ultimately, we all face the same universe with its same dangers. Together, we can achieve more than separately. Chen glanced at Rivera, who gave a slight nod. We'll consider your proposal, Chen said. But understand this, humanity will never again allow itself to be restricted, constrained, or treated as lesser. That is precisely why we need you, Nyara replied. To remind us of what happens when we forget that diversity of thought and approach is strength, not weakness. 6 months later, the Galactic Alliance was formed, a new compact of 28 species, including humanity. The old Confederation hierarchy was abolished, replaced by a council where each species held equal standing. As the signing ceremony concluded, Admiral Chen found herself standing beside Nyara on an observation platform overlooking Earth. I've been curious, Nyara said. How did you advance so quickly once you left the Confederation? Even without restrictions, the technological leaps you made should have taken decades. Chen smiled. We already had most of the innovations, she admitted. For years, we developed them in secret, knowing that someday we might need to stand alone. You prepared for rejection before it happened, Nyara observed. We hoped for partnership but planned for abandonment, Chen corrected. A human characteristic your analysts always underestimated. And now, Nyara asked, what will humanity build now that you are truly free to create? Chen gazed out at the stars. That's the beauty of it. We don't know. For the first time, we face the universe without artificial constraints, with true allies rather than condescending overseers. She turned to face the alien. The question isn't what humanity will build. It's what we'll all build together. As night fell over Earth, new ships departed the orbital shipyards, vessels built with combined human innovation and alien efficiency, crewed by mixed species teams. They carried not weapons of war, but tools of exploration. Venturing into regions of space no single species had dared approach alone. The humans had walked away, but in doing so, they had forced the galaxy to follow them toward something better.